Yeah, let me go ahead and share this screen real quick. It's not it. This is it. All right.
So Tommy's topic today is going to be kind of primarily, around breathing, and he'll kind of go from there. Tommy and I met, about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. We started talking at least maybe a little bit longer than a year ago. Met in person. Really great dude. Somebody I'd love picking his brain and learning from him. He's got tons of knowledge. So thanks again for coming and talking with us for about 15 minutes.
Oh, sure, man. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. Bear with me on this. So, but hello, my name is Tommy. Get going. So today we're going to be talking about breathing. We should shut this window. I'm a newbie to Zoom, so deal with me real quick. How do I close the side window, Johansson, with all the pictures on it? All the videos. Shoot. All right, screw it. All right, so I think everyone knows what breathing is at this point. Really, it's just an exchange of gases. So the human body could benefit from oxygen and get out all the byproducts, all the waste, so that the body can maintain homeostasis and equilibrium and do whatever we want it to do. Because the brain you have the brain and the mind, you have something that processes the body and then something that's more of a thought-based processor. So breathing, why should I care? I think everyone should care about breathing because, one, it's the very first thing we do, outside the womb. And I think there's massive implications to human life that don't get oxygen immediately when entering the environment, and that can sometimes lead to neurological disorders and brain damage. So it's hugely important, but those of us who are fortunate enough to not have had any sort of issues as we've developed are very lucky, and we can experience some of these things that breathing really helps benefit, and that's a flow state. Very, very big topic in sport if you're trying to increase performance and trying to get into that no mind place where everything just happens. Plasticity. So there's major pathways that become open and available when your autonomics are balanced. So that means that you're neither amped nor are you down, or you're not feeling well. You're in the middle, so you can shift between states quickly and efficiently. So that type of activity allows for better internal learning environments. So what we're talking about, and this kind of goes into flow state, is reduce physical and neural tone, improve fascial responses. So basically, when you're balanced, you have the availability or the ability to downregulate and upregulate your systems and responses quicker. So, for instance, if you are overly amped, you get tight, and then you can no longer create as much tension as you need to create the activity, and you become too tight. So that'd be overtoned. So by breathing, you can reduce this tone and improve fascial responses. Inner abdominal pressure. So this is basically what I call becoming ruthless. So if I have the posture that basically the muscles are lining my structure up to create the most force at the ground. So that pressure is what I need to have a barbell on my back to pull 500 pounds off the ground. It's all, that's where this breathing and filling the diaphragm region with air creates that big band of pressure called the transverse abdominis. So moving into that, so we'll also get reduced pain and reduced bad signals, which means, you guys go through that. So it will improve sleep, respiratory mechanics will improve CNS, regulated thoughts. So this is huge, especially in a time like now where a lot of us can't express ourselves physically, which creates a psychological impairment, in my opinion. And then what happens is we don't feel ourselves. So you can actually regulate yourself through breathing. I do not believe that breathing is the entire answer. I believe good, authentic movement while breathing is going to be the ultimate answer to a lot of these issues. Basically, we have to make sure we're breathing and moving fluid at the same time. Improve zone of apposition. I kind of already hit on this, but the zone of apposition is basically your diaphragm and your pelvic floor, which is made up of your psoas and your glutes. And also you can mix in some hamstrings and some adductors in there too, because we're basically looking at the muscles that hold up the rib cage and hold up the pelvis. But when you get that well alignment, we're also talking about improved vestibular system, which means your reflexes will improve, awareness, and your impulsiveness will actually reduce. So your decision making will improve. So as a baseball player, softball player, decision making is huge, especially as a hitter when it happens in less than moments. And down regulation of overdrive, which means we'll conserve energy. Let's go ahead. Okay, so this is a quick rundown of autonomic nervous system, kind of what it looks like when I was talking about being in neutral. If you can shift left and right better, and you also look at our respiratory synchronization. When you get into this parasympathetic state, basically you're exhaling more than you're inhaling. That's what that 1 to 4 means. So once you get to that down regulation of cardiorespiratory synchronization, breathing doesn't become as much of a priority because you're in fight or flight. So that means mechanics could go out the window, and appropriate exchange for recovery or for performance could go out the window also. But there are some monsters and freaks that can do it also. This is kind of the example, fight or flight. So basically what you have to look at is you're one or the other, and whereas being in control in the lion's position, one bad move, they lose, the zebra gets away. So being under control during your decision-making process is huge for catching the zebra. So these are the other things that, and so what we also look at is, and if you're a hitting coach or if you're a hitter in here, when I say extended neuroreflexive posture, what I really mean is that your posture becomes very erect, almost overextended, and you start living on your toes, which this really will affect how you use the ground and how you rotate. So basically your posture is a reflection of what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your brain, and all the other systems that are included, including like lymph, there's even your skin. So if none of this stuff gets the right type of sensation or type of information, then performance then suffers. And this is all related to breathing. Parasympathetic system. So this is a little easier to understand. So rest and digest. So people who have a hard time gaining weight, this is being able to downregulate your system so it can focus and use blood and use the systems in your body to break down and distribute the nutrients in your body. You do not get to this unless you can downregulate and shut off. So this means like if you're up late using your phone, right after a game, that all that information may get shot out your brain and never used because you're not allowing it to go through the appropriate processes to keep it stuck in the brain. So we're also looking at this low energy expenditure. Well, we also talk about the people who burn too many calories. Well, and they're also never hungry. They never rest, digest, and also low energy. So these are the guys that are going to be continually using muscle and other things in their body to start fueling themselves. So when we start getting calm, this is what the place we need to be, especially if we're trying to be very reflexive and hit a baseball. So this is more talk beyond calm. I should have made that clear, but more shutdown mode. So this is good feelings. And we also get there through exhalation. So I'm going to get into that pretty soon. So here's a quote. I'm going to kind of skip this because I'm already talking a lot. So what we're going to be talking about here is about the zone of apposition. I talked about how, we're looking at it and we're talking about a diaphragm and a pelvic floor. So suboptimal zone of apposition will basically create the sympathetic state. You'll have irregular breathing patterns, decreased exercise tolerance. So we're also talking about like, why do I get winded easily? Like, why am I tired? Okay, well, maybe your posture is not promoting the best exchange of oxygen. So like there's that old saying with strength coaches, don't show yourself being tired. Put your hands on your head. That's a crock of crap. I'd rather my guys look tired and perform like studs than, play this game, so I believe putting your hands on your knees and breathing when you're actually tired promotes diaphragm and pelvic floor alignment, which improves suboptimal ZOA. So we talk about accessory breathing. So accessory breathing is huge in my world because I link everything together with teeth, eyes, even tongue. So if we're looking at accessory breathing patterns could be overactive neck, which could then affect some of the craniofacial structure, which also affects the responses of your eyes. So the ability for the ocular muscles to turn the eyes becomes inhibited because the neck is stiff. So if you guys are familiar with PRI, their theory, and it's been proven, is that the eyes are, the eyes live in the neck. So anywhere I turn my head is where my eyes are going to have best focus. So if my neck becomes stiff, I have to over-dominate my eyes, then I get overuse and stress with my eyes. So talking poor core control. So we're talking about like people getting pars fractures in their lower back, SI joint pains, headaches, asthma. So basically, if you, and I'm not in any, I don't have any illusions about this. Not even looking for optimal. I'm looking for people to improve. I think in the athletic world, it's almost impossible to ask them to have a perfect ZOA and be an absolute animal. I think you have to be a little bit more sympathetically driven in order to dominate. But being able to regulate it allows us to recover and use all the information, all the inputs for our brains to make the adjustment and the adaptations that we want. So we'll kind of skip through this because it's just the opposite of what I just talked about. So basically what has been observed is that inhalation has shown no sign in terms of improving downregulation or balance of the nervous system. What they have seen is that slower breathing and exhalations have had some pretty good changes in improving the quality of the system. Okay, so what does this mean for baseball? I mean, like, this is a lot of just like talk, but we're looking at, in my opinion, the guy that has one of the best zones in baseball, because you simply look at his posture. You could run a pole up his back, down to the top of his butt crack, and it's going to touch the entire way. Not only that, take a look at his waistband. His waistband is almost perfectly horizontal, which means he has almost neutral pelvic tilt. Again, I'm not looking for perfect, but what this tells us is his ability to hold the ground. So holding the ground means keeping the heels, in relationship to the ground as long as we can, which basically allows us, our body, to gain information about where we are in space. So if we lose this information where we are in space, we go into a sympathetic stress response. And that could be early extension and other things that will cause us to change, do something less advantageous. So also holding the ground allows us, we have to look at like gait, because gait is going to be kind of our primary function as humans, and we should follow some of the patterns that fall underneath us at our feet. So what we'll actually see is better focus under high pressure situations, improved ability to rotate, because now your ribs can rotate around your visceral tissue, and your pelvis can support it. So they're both being held up correctly. This is access to improved sequence. So I've actually tested this, and I've seen guys go from being unable to find their pelvis and be able to use it at all through facilitation of obliques. We got them to start rotating their pelvis better, and it was really just through exhaling, because we were coaching it and they were using their rectus. So they've said they've kept feeling like a six-pack turning on versus more the V shape happening. So once we got that going, they cleaned up and they actually reported less back tightness when they hit. It was and for me, keeping this player healthy, he has a good chance of being drafted high this year. So getting him out of back pain before he went to college, entering a very stressful environment was a big victory for him. So increased ability to recover, we talked about that. Also, so increased ground force, ground reaction forces. This is huge, especially if you're looking for better deceleration. You actually have better access to your glutes, which means you can push into the ground, and especially on that lead leg, being able to, it's a weird move because we're internally rotating, flexing, and adducting, but we have to extend to stop that process and transfer energy upward. Definitely need some glutes in there to start pushing into the ground. So we're looking at a lot of things that are just from posture setting us up. And when I talk, I can't talk breathing without talking posture, because there's breathing and then there's suboptimal breathing. So we want to make sure we get them to a more optimal state. And there's so much more to talk about. So I'm really rushing through this and trying to cover as much as I can in a short period of time. So this is something I found, and this spoke volumes to me. So usually you want to anchor ship during a storm because you don't want the boat to capsize and flip around. So what I look at breathing as is, I don't look at the end all be all to being a good hitter, being a great athlete. I believe it's just the anchor for the athlete to go through this very chaotic, fluid environment called sport. So when I saw this, it spoke volumes to me. I figured I'd share a little bit of the importance behind breathing. So I'm wrapping it up here. I got 2 more slides. This is some examples of some breathing activity you can use to reset your body and also get your brain to a better state. This all of these exercises and most of this information I give credit to Postural Restoration Institute. Wonderful place. I've taken almost every one of their courses. If you're interested, I highly recommend. So this is my personal directions in cueing. So you guys will have these slides. So the one thing I want you to do when you go through this, and I can also, Ryan, if I need to attach you guys a video eventually, because you're like, I don't get this, let me know. I can create one real quick. I'll use these directions to talk through. But realistically, you want to feel hamstrings, a little bit of glutes, your belly gets soft, your obliques get really tight, and you want to really work on your ability to get air out of your body so that way you can refill with brand new oxygen. So if anyone, some of the young people here may lose you on this, but if you watch Fight Club, they talk about oxygen helps you deal with stress during that whole plane crash situation. They start trading out the manuals with people that are actually terrified. It's pretty funny, but I think if you really focus on your exhale and normalize your inhale, don't over pull, you'll feel a lot of changes psychologically, just the mental state you're in, and also you'll feel a lot more heels and a lot more loose when you walk. So that's pretty much it. I think that is it. Yeah, that's it. So did I go over? Yeah, 4 minutes. My bad.
You're good, man. That was a lot of information. And I guess too, like, for as we're trying to cram all this stuff in, right, into these smaller segments, I think the biggest thing is just placing an importance on it and giving people some resources to kind of continue to learn about it. Because I think if you're just conscious about it to start, that's probably like a start, right?
Yeah, so, just make time. Everyone talks about meditation. Cool, yeah. Just make time to do nothing. Like, go lay down and breathe. Like, genuinely do nothing. Look inward. Focus inward, because that's how you gain control. Especially if you're a hitter and you have no control of your thoughts, you're done. The guy runs a 2-seam on your hands. You already start getting bad feels. Go sit down. Like, it's done. Try to scrap it all you want, but in the show, man, you're gonna get chewed up. But if you can control, because it's okay to have bad thoughts, as long as you can regulate them and get back on the process, get back on the plan. So the importance of this isn't it. This isn't it. This is part of the program. This isn't like what Max is going to show everyone next. It's highly important because you're preparing to do damage. You're getting your body ready, and this is just like that prep work and the philosophies that he's going to use is just another part of the program. So I think understanding the bits and pieces of the program, and you and I have talked about silos before. Start to understand a little bit of each of the silo, and you can start building out your own program. Whether it's, hey, I'm just going to foam roll. Hey, I'm just going to breathe. Hey, I'm going to do this movement before I swing. Hey, I'm going to use a short bat, long bat today. Like that's a program, and it's beneficial because you're organized and you have a process you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like China and I talked about this on our episode the other day. China McCarney is basically like, there's like a threshold of the basics, and so many coaches want to just cover everything, right? And so like getting the basics first, like the true fundamentals are not fundamentals of like, if you were to read like a book on fundamentals for baseball, like that's not the fundamentals. Like learning how to do the basic stuff to move to accomplish the fundamentals would be way more basic on that side of things. So Tommy, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I want to be respectful of your time, also Max's time. So Max, I'm going to kind of kick it over to you, and I'm going to let you take us through a warm-up and some hitting drills, and maybe introduce yourself from that side of things.
Yeah. Sounds good. Everybody can see me all right?
Yeah, good.
So my name is Max Gordon. I am the hitting coordinator at Driveline Baseball. I am also the volunteer assistant coach at the University of Michigan. First, Tommy, fantastic job. I hope everybody kind of picked something up, especially you younger folks out there. I know there's a handful of the younger age, high school, little league guys. Like, bring your notebook, man. Like, I just learned something from Tommy right there, and it's good stuff. And that's the way the game is going. So just make sure you guys, especially the kids that are coming up in the game, like it's better to know as much as you possibly can. It gives you a lot of tools. Not if you just want to be a good player, but if you want to have an impact in this game as a coach later on down the road. So notebook, learn as much as you can. That's really important. And that's a lot of what I've been trying to talk to the guys about at Michigan. The players that I've been working with is just, it's education is key. So this is awesome. Kudos for you guys for jumping in here. Okay. So I don't know how many of you have bats and that are going to swing, but basically what we're going to do is a quick little warm up. I'm just going to do it right here in my living room for you guys. So I guess the first thing I really want to be able to do as a hitter is I want to be able to rotate. I want to be as stable as I possibly can. And I want to get the heart rate up. So if we can get the heart rate up, if you got a jump rope at home, that's perfect. I'm not gonna get it going, but I will show you guys some good ones for getting some rotation, some movement going, and also like some stability exercises. So the first thing we need to do is we're gonna do some thoracic rotation. So thorax is gonna be your upper ribs here. We need to get that to moving. So that's a mobile joint. We want to be able to rotate in our thorax. And what that is going to look like if you have a bat. Let's see, let me get this going here. Okay. So I'm on my knees right now. I'm going to put one leg up, put my bat behind my head. And all I'm going to do right now is, without letting this knee move at all, I'm just going to keep it facing the camera. I'm going to turn as far as I can towards that knee. And once I run out of room here, I'm just going to bend down. And then once I hit that end point, nice big deep breath. So after a good breath, just come back up to neutral with the ground, and then gained a little bit of range of motion. So then I'm going to go to that next point where I stop, go back down. Come back up. Gained a little bit more. So like you guys can see, I'm already getting a little more. I'm letting my knee go a little bit, but go further as far as you can, go all the way down. Come back up. So really the really important part of that exercise is the breath at the bottom. It's for sure the most uncomfortable part that nobody enjoys doing, but making sure you try and you're using your lungs to try and expand those joints, expand those ribs to get them working a little bit better. Basically using your lungs to stretch. So I'm just gonna, because I'm a weirdo, I gotta do the other side now. So same thing, left leg up, always turn towards the leg that's up. Turn, Reach down. Back up, turn. Back up, one more. You guys can see from my first turn, like how much movement I just gained right there. So like if I just got up off the couch and decided I'm gonna go do some hitting, and like my first turn was, I probably stopped like right around here, right? But like right now, I can go all the way to there. Like that's maybe 5-10 degrees. That means a lot, you know? So understanding that movement is really important. So doing a warm up and knowing what warm ups you need to do and exercises you need to do in order to get yourself to the position that you need to be in to hit is really important. So, you know, making sure you're kind of hitting those checkpoints throughout your day as you're either training or you're going into the game is really important, because, you know, if I think that I'm right here and this is where I play really well at, but I'm actually way too far, like that's a problem. It's also a problem the opposite, is if I think I'm right here and this is where I have a lot of success at the plate and this is how my swing feels good, but I'm actually right here, that ain't it. Like that's going to throw something off, because I'm going to be in positions that I think I'm getting into and I'm ready to hit, but I'm not really there in real life. And that's those little tweaks where people start freaking out and go to the cage and spend about 4 hours trying to figure out what in the heck's going wrong. It's just because you're not moving a little bit sometimes. Sometimes that's the problem. So that's our thoracic rotation. That's kind of where we're going to want to create a lot of rotation. So now we need to look at some stability, right? Like lower half, we want it to be stable. Obviously the hips are going to want to rotate, but we're definitely going to want to create some stability in like the glutes, the hamstrings, and just like that posterior chain. So like all down your backside, right? So real simple one for that. I'm gonna see if I can get the camera down here. Oh, that ain't it. This will work. This might work. This might not work. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm take my feet, put my feet together, right? Like I'm in a butterfly stretch. And then all I'm gonna do from here is lay down on the ground, hands up in the air. So I'm gonna keep back and head stays on the ground, stays flat on the ground. Hands go up in the air. And all you're gonna do from here is just raise your hips and hold. So down, raise, hold, try and keep the knees wide. And really what you're trying to do in that exercise is making sure you're squeezing your butt, squeezing your glutes, and trying to get those to initiate the movement to lift your pelvis up off the ground. You're really just trying to engage a lot of glute activity there, right? Like we really want our glutes to be kind of the prime movers. If we have other parts of our body taking over, that's going to really like lead to a little bit what Tommy's talked about, like maybe some early extension or just like poor interaction with the ground. So we really want to have a good solid base underneath us, and making sure that those glutes are firing and staying active. That's going to be really important, especially like as you're going into your swing and like creating a swing to try kind of drive you through your career. So that's a good one to do. I like to do that every single day. I don't play anymore, but that's just a good one just to get like your body clicking. That's the way it's supposed to operate. And you know, the way we sit down all the time, your glutes are constantly in a state of just depression. They don't really do a ton of work. So just making sure that you turn those suckers on, that's really good. So we got our glutes underneath us, rotating a little bit better. For the people out there with foam rollers, I would really encourage to foam roll like the glute medius. So that is going to be like the very top of your butt, right? And so like rolling that out, that's going to help with, I mean, I've had low back problems, and that's kind of my money maker for like loosening me up personally. And that's kind of been a consensus thing. That's just like, it might work for you, it might not, but that's just really kind of helped me out. So I'd like to roll those out. And then also your standard figure 4 stretch, right? So this guy, but on the ground. Everybody's done that one on the ground, right? You're just laying there like this. I know you can't see me, but really trying to get the hips kind of loosened up, make sure that they're rotating a little bit. We're activating our core with those bridges, with those glute bridges, and we're rotating in our spine. So we kind of got the three big guys out of the way, and now we're gonna go do a little hitting. Okay, so let's see here. There's my tee. All right, so first drill I like to do just when you're getting loose and just getting ready to go is walkthroughs. Very simple. You guys have all done it. And it's just something to keep some athleticism and just make sure that like we're not worried so much about what's happening to the ball. We're just getting our body loose and just trying to be athletic, especially just to get it started. So walk through. Try not to hit anything. It's right here. Scoot that up. Smoke my wall. But just walk through. Boom. So really just very simple, try and be athletic. You don't have to think left foot, right foot first. Just start walking. And then when you're getting close to the tee, just go ahead, pull the bat back and let it go. Just so that's a good one just to get it going. That's also, if you really wanted to, you can do that opposite handed as well. I mean, this is more of a exercise it's more of an exercise, honestly. It's just, well, I mean, if you're trying to build speed, this is a great thing to like really start ripping and try and just create some athleticism and build a little bit of that speed engine. But if you're using it just as a warm up, go ahead and do it on the other side. There's no harm in it. It's getting kind of the opposite side of the body firing a little bit, getting those decelerator muscles to kind of get primed up. And that's not going to hurt anything. So if you're just using it as a warm up and you're just kind of starting your day off, go ahead and rip some from the other side. It's going to look funny, but hey, you know, no one's watching. We're all stuck in our house right now, right? So that's what I would start with. And if we're going to talk like lower half or like a little bit more sequencing, the two drills that I would really encourage are the hook 'em drill and the step back drill. Very simple drills. They can also be performed incorrectly, so it's important to know how to do the drill, not to just do the drill as many times as you can. There's still a right way to do it and a wrong way. So start off with the hook 'em drill. First one. So I'm gonna, for the sake of you guys being able to kind of see what I'm doing, I'm gonna pretend the picture's this way. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna take your front foot, you're gonna hook it behind your back foot, right? So I got my front foot hooked behind my back foot, and then next, which is pretty important, is when you get that hooked, just a slight bend in the knee. Really trying to like engage the glutes and make sure we're trying to keep this knee bend as we're going through the drill. So I'm gonna get into my hook 'em stance, slight bend, and then the next thing, I just want to kind of like float the front foot, try not to step over too high. Just gonna go ahead and float the front foot out and just swing. So very simple, hook it over. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm targeting some upper body and lower body, like some hip shoulder separation. So I'm really trying to create some stretch between my upper and lower body, where my upper body is kind of pointed back towards the catcher's glove or the catcher's mask, where my pelvis is starting to rotate just a little bit towards the pitcher as I get into heel strike. So really trying to hold on to this good posture and this good position with the upper body. And I'm just gonna go ahead and let that belt buckle turn towards the pitcher as I start to get into heel plant. So. And this is a great drill if you're trying to create some speed, some really good speed, and like kind of some power with some really good intent. It puts you in a really great position, and it's not too hard to really execute. So that's kind of the hook 'em drill. Also, there's like the quick pitfalls to the hook 'em drill. The wrong ways to do it is, as we go forward, I talked about having this slight bend, is as we go forward, guys will come up, out, which is gonna lead to that early extension like Tommy was talking about earlier. So if you can see my butt here on the bat, I want my butt to kind of be touching this bat the entire time. So as I'm going to hit, I want to stay like on that line. But now as I go forward, if I come up, there's space. You see that space there between my butt and the bat? So that's like kind of one of the pitfalls. I mean, there's a million ways to hit, you know, so just trying to kind of have little checkpoints is pretty reasonable, I think. But that's just one of the ways that guys will kind of fail this drill is as they go forward, they'll come up. They're guys that are typically going to close themselves off, and they're going to get beat on that inside pitch because kind of they're putting themselves in a tough position to kind of like rotate into the ball. The next thing is it's very similar. I talked about sweeping the foot. That's another good one. Is guys will want to jump, and that'll lead again to that back knee extending a little bit earlier than we'd like, and just kind of like getting out, having some poor interaction with the ground. Ryan, you hear me all right? I'm kind of yelling in my living room.
No, yeah, volume's good, man. No, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay. So next one we'll talk about is the step back drill. Really simple drill. I'm sure everyone here has done it. But again, there's kind of a right way and a wrong way to do it. And like these are kind of my two favorite drills for just kind of attacking the lower body. If you're gonna come in and work with me and we're trying to crack some eggs and it's our first time, these are probably the very first two drills I'll throw at you just to see if it clicks. You know, it's because I had a decent amount of success with them, with working with dudes trying to make changes. So again, we're gonna call pitcher's mound is that way. And all I'm gonna do, it's called the step back drill. I think we know what's about to happen. I'm just gonna get ready to hit. And all I'm gonna do is just step back, swing. Okay. So it's important that this drill is done like pretty under control and in a more loose, like kind of flow state setting, swing, you know, like when things can get weird is when guys really start trying to like jump back and like dive back, and they'll be like, and then now as they're coming forward, they're like launching themselves back out because they're in this like defensive back position, like trying to like jump around all the time. And so I think it's important that really the main point is we're trying to get like back and like feel a good amount of weight and pressure into our backside and like have a good gather in our back hip, like kind of drive that back heel into the ground and then just maintain that as we're going into strike. Really would rather not have guys do this drill and be like jumping around on their toes, because again, that's going to lead to our early extension. You get a guy that's on his toes, he's going to want to extend forward. If he's on his heels, it's kind of easier to control that forward move without that pelvis suffocating home plate. So really just trying to be under control, nice and smooth, and it's just step back, gather, swing. But some pitfalls for this drill, some ways that this one can kind of be done incorrectly is guys will step back and they'll stay back, right? So they'll step back and this knee will now get outside of their back foot. And now they're in kind of a poor position to control themselves going forward. So it's easy for them to be like way up here as they go to hit, and you get this guy. Or they'll just stay back and they won't come forward at all. So they'll get outside of their back knee with their back knee will get outside of their back foot, and they won't ever go forward. And you get the guy that just puts his foot down and just spins. So you'll have this guy. I mean, and that's great if every pitcher threw, 68-mile-an-hour breaking balls, right over the middle. But, the heater up, there's a lot of pitches that you're going to get beat with if you're really just hanging back at that angle. So, having some good posture coming forward and using your spine angle to try and have a good relationship between when you land and then rotating around your spine to, create a little bit of a positive attack angle and flush some balls into the outfield gaps. That's kind of the premier way to do it, rather than just setting a shoulder plane and just trying to swing up immediately. So that's the step back drill. Also, both of these are really good for just creating some athleticism. I know there's a lot of drills and a lot of stuff out there where people want to get a little bit too technical, a little bit too internal, rather than just letting the drill be the drill and let the athlete be the athlete. So the more often that you can put an athlete into a drill and then just give him a target, like hit the ball here. And the only way, the reason you're telling him that is because for him to do what you want him to do physically, the only way he can do that is by hitting the ball there. So if I have a guy that's struggling with pulling the ball in the air, right? This is a pretty common one. Guy that's struggling pulling the ball with the air, and I see that he is early extending to home plate. Something that I would do is I would feed him an inside pitch. Oh, fly ball fell off. So I would feed him an inside pitch. So we're going to pretend that this is that inside pitch. And now my problem is I'm early extending to home plate. So as I'm coming forward and go to swing, I come up like this, right? So what I would do is I would feed him inside pitches, or I'd set the tee there if that's all I had. And I would say, hit this ball 30 feet over the second baseman's head without it hooking, right? Now, if I'm going to do that and early extend, I'm going to have a lot of problems, especially if this pitch is right here. I'm going to land and I'm going to go like this, and now it's where's that ball going to go? It's going to go in the dugout if I get it on the barrel, or it's going to be just a hooked around, roll over to the first baseman, right? But now, if that's my only goal and coach is telling me just hit it over the second baseman about 20 feet over his head as hard as you can, and I'm just continuously doing this, all I'm trying to do is complete the mission. Coach said, hit the ball over the second baseman, and that's what I've been asked to do. So hitters and competitors, they're going to make those adjustments. I'm going to find a solution to this problem that the coach has just given me. He just gave me a problem to hit the ball over there. But now, if that pitch is away, I can do that with my swing, but it's in. That's the problem. So how do I solve the problem? So without really teaching or anything, just feeding them inside pitches and trying to let them organize themselves and let them find it on their own terms and their own ways. Eventually, hopefully, and sometimes it's sooner than later, sometimes it takes a little while for guys. And there is points where you have to cue them and help them along and try and keep your butt back or whatever. But the easiest way is to let them try and find it first on their own, and eventually they'll have that good posture. They'll stay keep their butt behind them, and they can rotate and actually hit that ball into the right center field gap, which is what we've been trying to get at. So I think that's really kind of important, especially when you're thinking about drills, is just not only what am I trying to do in this drill, what am I targeting with my movements, but what is my intention? Where is this ball supposed to go? The ball flight is very important. I think Joey Votto said it. The best feedback you're going to get is the baseball. The baseball is going to tell you whether it's a good swing or a bad swing. So make sure you guys understand what good, pure, hard, solid contact is. And if that's in the gap, it's a good swing, man. But if that's on the ground with the shortstop, not so good. Or if it's cut a little bit in the gap, you're getting there, but it was cut. I want pure, solid, hard contact. So next we'll talk about bat path. A lot of people really enjoy talking about bat path. I think the most important thing to really kind of think about with bat path is this happens in like a lightning fast speed. So if you can create some type of feel that's gonna dictate changing your bat path, that's pretty good. But bat path happens and like your swing happens so fast. I think it's really important that you do a good job of getting into a good landing and a good setup position, and then just hit. Because everything happens so quick, it's really hard to make those minor adjustments, you know, when everything's coming out the chutes at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So bat path, a good one that I like to do is the offset, like just the offset open and the offset close drill. So offset open, I'm going to pretend that you guys, you're the pitcher. So for a home plate right here, you guys are the pitcher. And all I'm trying to do is I've got this tee pretty deep. So like the tee, yeah. So this is about how deep I have it. I'm almost in line with the tee. And all I'm trying to do right now is I'm basically facing you. My feet are kind of between the shortstop and the second base. And all I'm gonna do is keep my feet pointing and my hips exactly where they are. I'm gonna pull back with my upper body and just try and hit like line drives over the center fielder. That is my only goal. Because what that's doing, if I can hit the ball as hard as I can, as pure as I can over the center fielder from here, that means I'm doing a good job of getting online, getting at a good attack angle with the pitch, and working my bat up through the ball. So it's more of a like, how early can I get into like a good slotted position, and then how long can I stay through it and hold it and like finish with a good clean barrel that way. So it's really, it'll just look like this. It's right here. Good load, stay down in your lower body, and just boom. And you will, like, you're forced to swing. It'll kind of bring you forward a little bit, that's fine. But this is a really good drill, especially if you've got, little driveline plug here. If you've got like some hitting plyos, so these balls, they're squishy, and you know, you can use tennis balls, you can use whatever you've got. But when you don't hit these perfect, like if I come in to hit this ball and it's coming in on this angle and I have a steep attack angle, I'm going to hit it and it's going to like pancake, get really thin, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to go like 4 feet forward, and then it's going to spin back behind home plate. So the further you can hit these balls, that means like the more head-on collision you're creating with the bat. So like if the ball's coming in this way and the bat's coming this way, I'm not making good collision. If I do square it up, I'm going to hit it straight down into the ground, right? But if I'm doing a good job of matching that plane, I'm going to hit it and that ball is going to fly off my bat. I'm actually going to, it almost sounds like you pop them. So it's a pretty good feeling when you get it good. So these are really good for just kind of like feeling bat path and seeing ball flight. You can't get away with anything. So having, you know, mom or dad or coach just like throwing overhand darts at the guys, that's a really, really humbling drill. I mean, even for some of the minor league guys that we've had in the gym, like everyone hates those things because they're just so hard to hit. But like once you can get pretty good at them, you know, you kind of got something going on. So that's a really good tool for bat path. So next thing, so we went through offset open, and really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my bat down into a slot early and then just maintain that bat relationship with my upper body and kind of my arms. So I don't have a lot of movement going a bunch of different ways. I'm just getting it into that slot that you can kind of see it off my back, and I'm just going to rotate through my spine. So I'm not, like, how I'm going to attack the high and the low pitch is with just my spine. So this is kind of a perfect way to look at it. Like I've got a high pitch right here, And I'm going to be set up when I land. I'm going to be set up to hit the high pitch. So now all I got to do is rotate to it. Boom. Now, all I'm going to do, if this pitch is low, I'm set up to hit the high pitch. Now it's low. I'm going to just bend, have a good little hip hinge, little deadlift, and turn to hit that ball. So rather than trying to manipulate the bat with your arms and your wrists and all that stuff, just using your spine angle to dictate height, I think is really important. And that's been a really good learning tool for a lot of our guys. So after I've done a good job of getting my path going through center field, a really good one to try and keep the target the same. I'm always trying to hit a line drive through the center fielder's chest. I'm going to hit one here, and then I'm just going to close off a little bit. And I'm going to hit one right through his chest again. Same target, never changes. Boom. And then I'm going to go back to like straight to neutral. Hit one back at it. Boom, center field. Then I'm going to close off now a little bit. Okay, now I have to really hold on to that and hit it and stay through it, right? Now we're turning to that inside pitch and trying to drive it over the left field fence. But target is the center fielder. All I did was change my feet. So center fielder, boom. Okay, now it's really in. Now I really got to turn to it. If I come out a little bit, if I let my wrist deviate any which way, it's going to get weird. So I really have to hold on to that turn before I let it go. And then I'm going to go ahead and let the bat fly through contact. So turn. All right, so that's kind of the progression I like to do. I like to start open, so you're facing center field first, and then close off. So you're really teaching to get that bat into that slot early. And so like you're teaching that early slot and making sure that this is going good first. And then after that, now let's kind of start squaring up, and we can work on hitting the ball a little bit more out front, right? Like this is going to be a lot more of an out front pitch. Yeah. That's kind of it, guys. What we've been doing a lot right now, you know, it's been tough for everybody with the pandemic. So we've been trying to do as much online training. I know a lot of people are out there doing online training. If you have some tools, we've got plenty of trainers that are willing to help you guys out with some online training. I'm actually 3 of them are upstairs right now, probably listening to me yell about them. So please feel free to go to drivelinebaseball.com, or you can call in. Fat chance that anyone's going to be there, but we are checking the voicemail. So please let us know. We're willing to help. We love answering questions and trying to educate, and also trying to learn. So I love when people call my BS. I really believe I'm not a know-it-all, and I don't want to come off that way. So if there's something that you don't like about how we do, we want to learn. We want to get things right. That's the main thing. So please feel free to call us out on whatever it is. And yeah, that's kind of all I got for you guys, man. I hope you liked it.
Max, that was awesome. Thanks for taking the time, man. I know you got a lot on your plate right now, despite the pandemic, between the online training and I'm sure kind of game planning and strategizing for the future and things like that too, between the 2 jobs. So really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Before we kind of wrap up, does anybody have any questions? Just kind of like normal, what we'll do is we'll just unmute yourself really quick and just ask, so that way we're not kind of fighting in the chat. If we get overlap, we'll address that. Usually we don't. So we'll go going once. Don't be shy. Going twice. All right, going 3 times. Gone. All right, Max, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, man. That was awesome stuff. Great drills. And yeah, hopefully some people take you up on that.
Right on. Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, good for you for putting this on, man. I know this has been awesome for everybody. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, hey, Brett, we're going to switch over to you. I'm really happy to have you on. maybe kind of introduce yourself, kind of where you played now, and maybe just kind of a little bit about your journey, and then we'll kind of go into it.
Yeah, for sure, Ryan. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, if anybody's thinking about getting off, it's going to be a real quick 5 minutes, so bear with me for the 5-10 minutes for this short devotional. But I'm Brett Netzer. I was drafted in the third round by the Red Sox in 2017. I went to college at UNC Charlotte from 15 to 17, and just been going through the minor leagues since getting drafted. And so just to hop right into it, I'm gonna read Matthew 16:26, and it says, "What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet lose their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?" And there's a lot to unpack from that verse. And you could probably talk about it for hours, but I just had 3 main points that I'm going to talk about really quick. And the first one is a question, kind of is will your soul or your innermost being ever be satisfied with material things, whether that be money, whether that be cars or girls or baseball? And I think an example for that is like growing up, or even recently in the past, is everybody can think of an example of something that we've always wanted. Once I get this, or once I accomplish this, then I'll be happy. And it's like, if you look back at that, once you accomplish that, or whatever it may be, fill in the blank, it's like, were you eternally happy? Or did that just make your life? Or have you just been living on high since accomplishing that or getting what you always wanted? And it's like, no, that's never it. So it's always like searching for the next thing. So I think the answer to that question is, will your soul ever be satisfied with material things? I think the answer is no. And that kind of leads me to my second point is fundamentally, why can't we be satisfied with material things? Like fundamentally, why will things never satisfy us? And I think the answer to that is because I don't think we're just we're just all atoms and material. I believe we have a creator that made us in his image, that loves us and wants us ultimately to have an intimate relationship with him. And I think that conscience inside of us and that void, I don't think it was meant for material things. I think it was to have an intimate relationship with our creator. And so I think that void will always be there until we kind of have a relationship. And then that brings me to my third point, which is probably the most important. And it's, how can we integrate what we want, our goals and our ambitions, with the feeding and nourishing of our soul? And that's the key question, is like, we're going to have goals and we're going to have ambitions and we're going to want material things, but how do we integrate that with the nourishing and feeding of our soul? And I think number one, I think you have to have an ideal, something that, and an ideal, I mean something of absolute transcendent value. And so people in the Christian faith, we have that's Jesus Christ. Jesus is fundamentally the highest standard that the Christian worldview has. And if you don't believe in Jesus, or you don't follow the Christian worldview, which, that's fine. I love talking about it. But to have an ideal, then you have to come up with your own respectable, wholesome ideal. And so now, how you integrate that ideal, how you integrate that navigating through life with meaning, is constantly and radically pursuing that ideal, if that makes sense. So I think, and what does that mean? I think in short, it means that no matter what you do, playing baseball, taking out the trash, every decision you make should theoretically be revolved around that ideal. And that's not an easy thing to do. That's bearing your cross, and that is taking on responsibility as much as you can possibly handle. And that means, making sure your house is in order before criticizing others and criticizing the world. Man, I think if we did these things, then we could weather the storm of life, and we could find meaning and find peace throughout the ups and downs of life. And I think all that relates to baseball, because it's like a big roller coaster. There's so much failure in baseball, and it's like, if your happiness and your meaning comes from baseball, or comes from any other profession or any other thing you do, it's like, and you're going to be in for it, you know. And it's having an ideal and having something that you can draw from, and you can bring meaning out of things that otherwise might not have meaning, if that makes sense. So that's my message, and I just wanted to encourage everybody. And I just want to thank Ryan for having me on and letting me ramble on for 5 or 10 minutes. But so that's what I got. Matthew 16:26.
That was awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. Such an important message for not only athletes, but just anybody who's trying to accomplish anything, you know, big and audacious, right? So that's really cool. It was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And spending your time with us on this Thursday evening or afternoon, whatever time it is. So closer to
you. And I love talking about it. I might love talking about religion and just spirituality. It's up there with baseball, talking about baseball. So if anybody has questions or anything, because usually I'm the one asking questions, so it's kind of weird giving a devotional and, you know, having, you know, giving some kind of answers. So I'm usually the one with the questions. So if anybody wants to have a conversation, then Brett Netzer on social media or whatever, you know. So I'd love to have a conversation with people.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And I will say selfishly, part of the reason why I put all these together is to hear everybody's perspective and kind of, you know, kind of get some really good ideas on what other people are thinking and what they're going through and stuff that, you know, we can search from. You know, it's a Bible verse you can dive into, and I'm sure there's a lot of good literature just even on that one verse that you could kind of probably Google it and get some pretty good stuff too outside of everything you talked about. So thanks, man. It was awesome. Loved it. Does anybody have any questions for Brett, either spiritual related or baseball related in general? Going once. Quiet group today. Thursdays, everyone's sleepy, getting close to the end of the week. Going twice. All right, gone. Thanks, Brett, man. I really appreciate it. If you guys are interested in joining the Thursday night Bible study, today the last part of the series with AJ Gill, Faith During Uncertainty, 5 o'clock Central Time. The original Zoom webinar link has been deleted because it was hacked. So what we did is last week we just emailed to everybody. We put it in the Bible study channel on Slack. If you want it, just shoot me a DM, or most of you guys got emails from me at some point. That's why you're on this call. Shoot me an email. I'll get you the updated site. It's been kind of a small group in general, which is kind of cool because everybody just unmutes themselves and we have really good discussion and conversation. So that's something you want to do. Definitely jump in on that. Let me know. If you were in it last week, you were emailed the updated Zoom link already. So awesome, guys. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Ryan. Later, man. See you guys.
See you, Brett. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.